Hey, my name is Barbie Armenta. I'm a wife, mother, life coach, and founder of Brave One. Everyone has a story, and I believe that you can be inspired in your own life by hearing another woman's courageous story. We're here to talk about purpose, identity, divorce, blending families. If you're talking about it, I want to talk about it. We are here to have brave conversations. Welcome back to the continuation of episode 2 with my husband, Richard Armenta. On the last episode, Richard and I shared our dating story from our book, The Right Combination: Finding Love in Life After Divorce. Today, we get to talk about what I consider to be the good stuff, the epic proposal, the wedding day and night. And as a bonus, we're going to go a little into what's not in the book, and that's what it's like to be a blended family for the last 10 years. My prayer is that you will find hope and that you will find out for yourself that it is not too late. So welcome back to the podcast.
Well. Thank you very much. We haven't gone too far. Right back here again. All right.
So yesterday we kind of ended on that we had gone to Galveston and you basically you said I had won you over.
Yes. Yeah. So I was sharing a little bit about that beach vacation, and it hit the point where I'm kind of seeing where we're at as a couple, where I could be as a stepdad to your boys. And I feel like I could be a good contributor to this, and I think that we could really make this a real family, blended families, they like to call it, right? Mm-hmm. So I made that decision. And then I think from that point on, trying to not go into all the details and stuff and everything, but I just started in my head at that time planning, what does this look like, man? How am I going to propose, and not only that, I've had a ton of friends already just really on my case, man. Like, hey, man, I need some cake. When are we going to eat some cake? Or just what are you waiting on? Just give this girl a ring. And so I started planning that out, and I started thinking about what's that going to look like. I mean, Lord knows with the social media these days, we don't have enough pressure in our life. Now I got to figure out how to make the best proposal in the world, So.
And I just kept saying, you're probably just going to do it on a random Tuesday over dinner. And I was going to be okay with this.
Right.
So we found ourselves after that vacation, we went through the holidays, still nothing. Then came Valentine's Day.
Oh, yes. Great Valentine's Day. Who doesn't love a good Valentine?
Well, me. So you asked me out on an amazing date. We go out for nice dinner. I make sure my nails are done.
Yes.
I was ready.
Yes.
You were
looked
not.
amazing. You looked amazing.
You were not ready. However, I kept thinking maybe the next course. Oh, maybe over dessert. Then you left for the bathroom. Maybe this is it. This is my moment. No.
He had the ring in the stall. I know it.
I just thought you had to prepare, But no, you come back, and what did you give me for Valentine's Day?
Ah, yes. Yes, something a woman needs and knows. I gave you an Adele CD. Adele 21, I believe it was.
I enjoy Adele as much as the next person, but that was not at all what I was expecting.
Yeah, man, I highly recommend no Adele CD. Well, I shouldn't say that, Adele, you're so good. But if she's thinking it's a ring, don't give it a CD.
No, I was highly disappointed to only find out that is how you had proposed to your ex-wife was on Valentine's Day, and somebody should have told somebody.
Right.
Because that would have been good to know.
Right.
But a couple weeks later, I was super excited because I was asked to be interviewed at church, and they wanted us to talk about our relationship. Right. And we were actually doing a series on purity. And so they were going to interview me, and I was going to get to talk about our relationship. So I called you super excited that I'd been asked. And you were like, oh, that's really awesome. So what's your side of the story?
Oh, yes. So I've been talking about the proposal and what it's going to look like. And so I knew that you were going to, I didn't know that you were going to be speaking at that time, but I did reach out to the person that was leading the women's ministry at that time. And I called her and I said, hey, look, I said, I know this is stretching things and, and I said, and I know I'm not going to ask something crazy, but I was wondering if it's possible that I could propose to Barbie, in front of the women's ministry. And I said, I know it's a women's ministry. I'm asking a big question. This is kind of like me stepping out of the boat to walk on water. But if you don't step out of the boat, you'll never walk on water. So I just want to know, what do you think about that? Are you in? Is that something that you are able to do as the person on staff leading women's ministry, bring a guy in and allow something like this to happen? And I was amazed that there was no hesitation at all. She was like, yes, I love it. Yes, let's do it. And I thought, awesome. I don't know what that's going to look like, but all I know is she's going to allow it to take place. And so, yes, that's when they decided to do the interview with you and talk about purity. And then I got the phone call from you, and you're all excited, and you're going to be able to speak about purity on stage in front of the women's ministry. And I knew all of it was going to take place, but I acted so dumb.
Well done. Well done.
Comes natural.
So I go to the women's ministry event, and in hindsight, there was a couple people that acted a little weird because they knew. They were like, oh, you look really nice.
Yes.
And they had been asked to film, so that's the reason they knew. And so we did the whole interview, and at the end,
You're leaving out the one part. You're leaving out the part where you called me and you were nervous to go up there and you wish I was there. And I said, man, I wish I could be there. I said, I'm just now fixing to walk right into this meeting, so I'm going to have to let you go.
Yep.
All the while sitting in the parking lot at the church.
So we do the interview. It's great. I actually do not remember a thing about what I said. And then at the end, Aubrey said, well, you've heard about Barbie's boyfriend. Maybe you should meet him. And I'm like, well, that's really nice, but he's not, he's at a meeting. This is all running through my head. And you start walking in and everyone's cheering, and I'm like so confused.
Right. Could
not wrap my brain around what was happening. You come on stage and start addressing the ladies in the audience, and I just was like, should I sit down? I kept backing up. I'm like, what am I supposed to do right now? I don't know what's happening. But not once did I think to myself, oh my gosh, he's about to propose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where, you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to faint because I've been waiting 4 years for this moment in time.
No.
None of that happened.
I was in literal shock, but tell them how it happened and then we'll.
Right. So I walk in and it's in front of about 350 ladies of the Flavor, as what they called the women's ministry at that time. And I did, thank them for allowing me to be there. And I addressed the ladies in the room and I said, I just want to, said, you guys have been talking about purity. Well, Barbie and I know a little bit about what that is to date in purity and dating God's way. And I said, if there's anything I can share with you guys is that you are more valuable than you think you are. You are more beautiful than you think you are. And anything worth having is worth waiting for. And that's when I turned to you and I said those exact.
That was the moment that I was like, is this it? Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. And I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And then you said.
And I reiterated to you personally that you are more beautiful than you think you are. You're more valuable than you think you are. And that you'd been worth waiting for. And you stood there
and then you got down on one knee.
There was no cry. There was no faint. There was no nothing. I thought, do I have the wrong person? What am I doing here?
You got down on one knee and it was so sweet. And I think I did say something like, yes, absolutely. But other than that, I was in total shock. We will link the video in the show notes because there is a video of me standing there just smiling like, what just happened? Yeah. And I still have people come up to me and be like, that was in the room when your husband proposed, or I could tell he had a ring in his pocket, and I was oblivious. But it was the most perfect. Only God could write that story for it to turn out like it did. It was
maybe
perfect.
Suggested guys don't wait 4 years because when you do it, there's nothing, there's no excitement. It's been so long.
There was no like, oh my gosh, hands on the face moment. I wish I'd had a better reaction, but the video is worth watching because he was fabulous.
It was great.
It was perfect. So after that, things went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We weren't going to waste any time because I'd waited a long time for that moment. We planned a wedding for just like 5 months later and found the dress. Our kids were going to be in the wedding.
Yeah.
And then best friend that had been by me through the whole thing, she was also in the wedding. And we had one location in mind, and that was Owasso Ranch in East Texas. You want to tell them why that's special?
So yeah, Owasso Ranch has always been special to us. It's like I did student high ministry for almost 8 years at Fellowship Church. So I led summer camps with students at Owasso Ranch. We've seen a ton of life change happen there. And so this was going to be a major life change happening for us. And matter of fact, part of the whole moving forward happened, while I was at Owasso Ranch. I wrapped up the 2-year apartment ministry, but in that in between time before we're getting married, I'm actually, leading a camp full of boys at summer camp while you're looking for the house for us to move in. And you're forwarding me paperwork over to the summer camp that I'm signing off on. So yes, Owasso Ranch.
Your boys were praying over it that we would get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Owasso Ranch plays a big role in our life, and it's where your boys went to summer camp, where I led summer camp. Dakota grew up summer camp. So there was no doubt that this is a special place. And
Mitchell was baptized there. And
yeah.
There's something about being out there because your cell phone doesn't work.
Right.
It's just so peaceful, and you can't go there and not experience the Holy Spirit. And so we just thought this is the perfect place. We planned a morning wedding in September. So it was, the weather was good. We just wanted to get away with just our closest friends and family. So it was small and it was perfectly planned.
Yeah, man. I suggest your listening audience plan a morning wedding. It's less expensive.
It is less expensive.
Nothing like breakfast burritos for
and
brunch,
an oatmeal
man.
bar.
It's like you can get away with that for real cheap.
You can. Yeah. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But, so we get ready to go. So the plan is to stay at Owasso Ranch the night before the wedding. And so I go early with my girlfriends because we're going to take some of the decor and stuff, start getting everything ready. And I take everything, including your car keys.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And your car has all the centerpieces for the reception and all of that locked currently in the trunk. And so the day did not get off to the best start.
Yeah, there was no spare key to my car. Or maybe there was. I can't remember. There was somewhere hidden. That's right. But that's how we got into it finally. But yeah, that start, you know how it is. Everything great starts with a little trial and tribulation, right? Got this little testing point. So that was like the beginning of like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? Everything's locked in the way. I'm on the road, matter of fact, I'm on the road. I got to call to my brother-in-law like, hey, everything's in the car. I don't know why I wasn't there, but Dakota and I had already headed out. And so this is happening. Dakota's upset. We're heading out. Things are turmoil. What's going to happen? But you know what? I got faith. This is going to take place. It's all going to be good. And it did. We got in the car. They were able to bring the centerpieces.
The centerpieces made it.
Right.
You think, why are these details so important? But in the moment, the little details are very important.
Right, man. Whatever looks like chaos, just keep walking in faith, man, because what you see makes no sense,
So me and my girlfriends already head out. It's 2-hour drive, so it's not that far.
Yeah.
And then you and Dakota come on your own later. So tell me what that was like.
It was a little bit of a beat up, man. It's kind of like a WWF match or something. I was just kidding. But no, in all seriousness, it was a little rough. I mean, I always spoke to her what a godly relationship looked like in a family, that, it's always God first, then your spouse, then your kids. And we've had this conversation many a times. And unfortunately, she has found herself, a divorce, walking through a divorce with me and Holly. And now she's walked through another divorce with her and her other stepdad, Mark. So here she's in another second time, and so she's wondering where she fits into this puzzle, and I've kind of told her where she was going to fit in the puzzle once I got married again. And I think that reality was setting in for her. And that kind of played out a little bit in our dating life as well. But this was really setting in. And so she was very, not very, I shouldn't say not very kind. Yeah. So, but she was being a little bit of a butthead. Can I say that?
Can you say that?
Yeah. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, headphones were in. She wasn't going to hear a word I had to say. She was mad. She was upset, and she was going into there to have nothing to do with it. And it was making me very mad and very upset. And I guess the real word I want to use is very disappointed, because her and I have built a very strong relationship where she really means a lot, the world to me. I mean, it's like this, I care deeply for, of course, it's my daughter and what she thinks and how she, what she cares about. And so this was really upsetting me that this was something that meant the world to me. And now she was turning her back on it almost as well. I felt like she wasn't supporting me in this, and then of course, hindsight being 20, she just felt like she was being further pulled away. Like, and a good example was, I think one time in a car, I asked her, explaining to her about, how a car has 4 wheels, it doesn't need a 5th wheel. And I was talking about a relationship and, and why it doesn't need a 5th wheel because it just doesn't belong. And then, this was early in my divorce life. And then she said, well, that's how I feel all the time. And I thought, wow, whoa. So take note, parents, when you're in this divorce life, and you think your kids are all right, maybe they're not. But anyway, I think maybe at that, and I share that only step back a little bit because I think that's how she felt in that moment. Once again, I don't belong. Yeah. And I think Dakota was junior in high school at that time.
When we got married, she was just going to start her senior year.
That's right.
So we got married in September.
Summer before
and
senior year,
school was
but still
about to
walking
start.
through those uncertainties in life. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing with your relationship with Dakota is you were her constant. So even, as her mom got divorced again, there was always, you were that constant in her life. And so I was aware of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
But I was very aware that she was in that spot with you. And so I was like, never knew myself how exactly to maneuver that situation and her still feel that closeness with you.
Right. So we get to Lhasa Ranch, we get there, we unpack everything, we get ready, kind of start planning this wedding day, and so we started to go through rehearsals, then we had this whole rehearsal dinner planned, which I thought, I think went really well. I thought the whole thing was kind of, you have other ideas and I see mine. The only thing that was really bothering me was why couldn't this be a special moment for Dakota still, and so we were walking through that, but everything was still, I was still happy with where we were headed and the direction we were headed.
We really just wanted so much for her to be happy and be a part of it. And I knew that you wanted her to be happy for you. And so that was hard, I think, for all of us going into that. So when we left the rehearsal dinner, all the girls, we were at it's a church camp, but like more of a resort, kind of really nice cabins. But the guys were all down in one cabin. Girls were in another cabin. So you left with the boys and everything. And I was with most of my girlfriends up in one room. And Dakota had removed herself and gone out in the balcony. And I was really disappointed because I wanted her to be a part as well. And so, but had a good time with all the ladies and everyone prayed. And when it came time to go to bed, I didn't think she wanted to be with me. And Cindy and I were in one room and she came in and asked if she could stay in there, which meant a lot to me. And so she stayed, we went to bed, and the next morning, she had,
we met.
Two different parts. You and I met first.
Yeah, we met first. So the next morning, my time with the boys in the cabin was very, nondescript, I should say. I guess there was no wow moment. We just kind of guys just hanging out on the balcony at the cabin and just, hanging out, probably feeling each other out. What does this look like? But good time.
I'm sure they were just as nervous about what their new life was going to be like as well.
And they were a little, not probably didn't know how to display it, but when you and I had already planned, first thing in the morning, let's get up, let's meet. And so that's what we did, and I remember it because it was really cool, quiet morning, steam coming off the water as we were walking across the bridge. And, and anyway, sat there together and we sat there and we prayed about the day and we prayed over, over the marriage, over the family, over a lot of stuff. And, and then we said, all right, man, let's get this day going. So you went back to the cabin with the girls and I went back to the cabin with the guys and we all started getting dressed.
Well, when I got back to the cabin, that's when Dakota came to me and she said last night she went out on the deck and that she was praying. I mean, I'm crying right now. She was praying about everything, and that she felt so much better about it. And hugged me, and it was like, it meant the world to me, but I knew it would mean even more to you. But we couldn't call you, like couldn't really get down there. We had to finish getting dressed, and I was like, I know your dad really wants to know. So we got ready, and just for reference, because this was my third marriage, and so getting dressed and all that, I actually wore a jumpsuit, and it was very pretty. It was kind of cream colored, but it was like, I still wanted it to be special because this was important to me. Yeah. And so we finished getting ready, went downstairs, and all the girls had kind of circled up, and we were about to pray, and Dakota just took off running. We were like, no idea where she was going or what she was doing. So what happened?
And then all of a sudden all the guys there with Pastor Owen we're actually circled up and fixing to start praying over the day before we got the ceremony rolling. And she comes busting through the doors like a scene in a movie, Dad, running full for it, and just jumps up and throws her legs around me, and I'm holding her, and we both start bawling. And so we just sat down, and I don't even know if a word was said, but we just both broke down and started crying and bawling in each other's arms. And it was quite a moment, because I'd be lying if I didn't say as a dad that my thoughts were, a lot of that morning was, I wonder what's going on with Dakota. I wonder what's going on with Dakota. And I'll get emotional talking about it.
Yeah, me too.
And so for her to run in the room at that time and jump in my arms and wrap her arms and legs around me and just start bawling, it's like, yes. It was the perfect start to a great marriage that we now live out. So
it was absolutely perfect. And then the ceremony was beautiful. The weather was perfect.
Yeah. A little warm, but it's good.
It got warm towards the end. You were in a suit. It was perfect. We got to have even though it was a morning wedding, we had oatmeal and everything, we still had a first dance, and you had picked out the perfect song. What was the song?
Marvin Gaye and what's her name?
Tammy Terrell.
Tammy Terrell, and I cannot remember the name of the song. How sad is that?
It's called Your Precious Love.
Yeah.
It says, heaven must have sent you from above. Heaven must have sent your precious love. Yeah. Something like that. It was perfect.
It was perfect.
It was.
Yeah.
So all that went so well.
So fast.
Yeah. Had a cookout at the house after because we had some family from out of town. And then finally got to head to the wedding night.
Yeah. Off to the hotel we went. And so that was special. I mean, the hotel is special. And I think,
someone had gifted that, and it was really nice. We stayed at the Gaylord Texan Resort and got
Good
there, and there
ours,
was
Paul,
chocolate covered strawberries, champagne. It was perfect. We sat out on the balcony and just talked about the day and everything with the kids and just everything that and then I'm going to share this part if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
We were, wasn't even to the point, I know we talked about not having sex, so we still had not had sex at this point. But what Richard said to me was, I've never felt this way before. And that is what I feel like God had for us. Like, we had both been married, we had had kids, so it was not our first time. But I'd never had a spiritual, emotional connection with someone. And that you saying that described it so perfectly of, it is worth it. Not for the reasons that you think, because it's not going to be your first time again, but it was our first time. And we had built something so special in that process. So even though I complained about the 4 years, for the entire 4 years, I was so grateful in that moment that we had taken that time.
Yeah. And I think that's something that wasn't just for us in that moment. It's just something that's anybody's who can be in that thing and be like, wow, I've never felt this way before, because I hadn't. I looked at that intimate moment in time, not that moment in time, but I looked at intimacy a lot different before than I did at that moment in time when I've walked out waiting for this moment that made it, it's like, wow. So this is what it's supposed to be about, because it was completely just about sex before to me.
Yep.
Yeah. So on the plane we go.
The rest of the night was amazing as well, just so you know.
Yeah.
And then the next morning we left for St. Croix and to spend 7 days. And I will just say that this was the most relaxed and just comfortable in our relationship, I think, during that week. It was just super special. So how did you feel about the honeymoon?
No, absolutely. 100%. Got there, just enjoyed it, relaxing. I mean, just enjoying every last second of being married and just having fun and basking in the sun and basking in the marriage with you. And, and that was it, really. I mean, it's like, can't, without going into, all the little details of what we did on our honeymoon that anybody else couldn't do on their honeymoon, but yeah, it was perfect. I mean, it was perfect. It was a great time, great getaway. Great way to end the wedding, the day after the wedding and start our walk into our new life. And, and so that, yeah, it was great. I mean, we were blessed. Bobby gives us a room for the night of the wedding, and Gary gives us a hotel to stay at for a week in St. Croix. It was a blessing.
So we had this amazing week, and then we got on the plane and we were flying back home. And mid-flight, I look at you, and it was like you could just see this wall going back up, and you're like rubbing your forehead. And I was like, no, we're not even home yet.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking in that time?
Oh my gosh. Reality starts to set in, right? I think that's for anybody. I mean, reality starts to set in. It's like, you move in, it's like you get married. Now this person moves into the house, and you're like, oh, they're never leaving. They're really here. And this is really real life. And I think that's what I was thinking, not as far as you personally, but I was thinking, okay, this is wow, this is the real deal. I'm now moving into a home because this is the first time for us to live together and be under the same roof together. I'm now doing this, and now I have you, your two boys, Mitchell and Dawson, in Dakota on every other weekend. But I'm now having this house full of people that's it. This is it. This is the real deal. These people aren't leaving. This is what you committed to. This is your family now. And
this is your family now.
This is your family, your blended family now. But I think that's all it was like, wow, because, it used to be, I could go to my place, you could go to your place, and it wasn't
nowhere to go.
Nowhere
you
to
go
hide.
through that thing of
nowhere to run to, baby.
You go through that thing of, oh, he's still here. And then there's, oh, he's still here. Like,
right.
Where can I go? Yeah. But for you, it was, you had a lot more to deal with, because now you have these boys, and you're always asking, where's all the food? I said, don't you remember being a teenage boy?
Yeah, exactly. But then also becomes like, what does this look like as a blended family? How are we walking through this? Where do I fit? Where's my role now? Or what, I know I'm a stepdad, but how do I become this role? Mm-hmm. And there lies all the challenges of becoming a blended family, not just internally, within your own house, but now you're starting to see what it looks like dealing with in-laws, your family, my family. The blended family thing starts happening really quick. And so that's a whole nother episode, man.
Yes. I don't think people think about, when we think about blending a family, we usually think, oh, it's us. If we're happy, the kids will be happy. And it's like that. One is not true, but also not only do we need to think about the kids, but then you have exes and in-laws and our siblings. Like, there's so many people affected when you blend a family. And so you just need to be prepared for all the different dynamics. But there are so many different directions we could go with this blended family thing. But if you would like to hear more about that, we would love for you to reach out. We would love to go deeper on another episode. We're going to give you a little bit more today, but I think there's 10 years now. We've been married 10 years.
Yeah, man.
We have so much that we could share. And so we would love for you to reach out and submit some ideas if there's something more you want to hear on a future episode.
Yeah. Because it is a whole new episode, sharing the trials and the tribulations of what a blended family looks like and how you walk through it in a Christ-like way. And sometimes it's not always so great, but I'll tell you what, it's a blessing when you get it right. And I feel like we've gotten it right.
Well, I think that's very much in part to how you lead our family well. And I think I had never had a time in my life, when you read in the Bible and it talks about following and submitting and all those words that we don't like as women. But I had never been in a relationship with someone that was following so close to God that I knew if I was following him, I was following God. And that's what I feel like I have with you. Doesn't mean I always agree, and I don't always make it easy, but I definitely know that I can trust you because I trust God and I know you're following him. And the other thing is just intentionality. Yeah. You're very intentional. You want to talk a little bit about that?
What part? Yeah.
What you always say is it's not just intentionality, but just being open. Like you always say that I stretch you and grow you in ways that you've never been stretched and grown before.
So intentional in how you approach your relationship with the kids, intentional how you approach your other relationships with your family. But it's just, it's intentional on how, what not to get upset about, when to chime in, in those areas. Like I said, it's a whole nother episode, but I think you're right. It's just like anything relationship, whether it's blended family or not, if you're seeking God first in everything that you do, you understand that life's no longer about you, and it was never really about you. It was always about serving others. As Christ said, he came to serve, not to be served. And so when you start heading into that mentality, then you start getting pulled and stretched in ways that you've never been pulled and stretched before. And you will get, as I told you before, I know I've gotten short with you. I know I said things I regret, but it's not you, which is a sort of a cliche. It's not you, it's me, right? But it is. It's not you. It's me, and you're making me uncomfortable because now I'm doing things that I'm not usually doing. I usually look after me, like Terrell Owens. I got to love me some me, So, but you start sacrificing self to what it is, and that pulls and stretches you, but it makes me a better me, when I do that. So it's intentional. You have to be very intentional on doing that. So, yeah.
Well, it was always really important to me that I was a stepmom to Dakota. I didn't want to just be her dad's wife. And that was why I was so glad we got married before she left for college. Yeah. And I got at least that 1 year. And so the way that we were also intentional was family dinner. And we would get all the kids and we would do dinner around the table. And when we first started it, we would tell them not to bring their cell phones. But after a while, we didn't even have to remind them. Like because we enjoyed it. That was where the laughter happened, the stories happened. That is where we grew our family. And what's funny is I'm saying this now, I'm like thinking there was 5 of us around that table having our family dinner. And today when we all get together, there's 16.
Is there 15 or 16 on the way?
There's 16th is on the way.
16th is on the way. That's right. There's 15 with one more coming.
Yes. So God is just so amazing because as a single mom, I always thought it's too late for me now. Like God can't bless me with that marriage and family and the big family dinners and things that I had growing up at my grandmother's house that I wanted to have. I thought I'm never going to have that. Right. And so at Christmas, I get stockings for all of the kids and we hang every stocking on the mantle, and there's not really room anymore. We're going to have to figure this out. But I do it because it's a visual for me of God's goodness and how he's grown our family and what he's done.
And my reaction to that was, are we serious right now?
Exactly.
Are we serious? We're going to have a stocking for every kid and every spouse and every grandchild is going to hang on our man. We're not going to have enough.
Yes.
We're not going to have enough space. So.
Yes, we do it. And we do it every year. And I did not expect it to be where it is now. Right. But we quickly grew the family because in 2018, all the kids got married. Like we had, my middle son got married September 2nd. Then Dakota got married 2 weeks later. And then 3 or 4 months later, my oldest son got married. 3 weddings in 4 months. And then the youngest, Dawson, graduated from high school and left the country for 6 months. And we were suddenly empty nesters in under a year. Right. It was crazy.
Right.
And huge blessings.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the directions that it's going. It's just been a ride, a good ride ever since. So
what were we saying? We talk about the grandkids. You want to share about that?
What was I saying?
Here's the beautiful thing about blending a family. We realized when we had grandkids.
Oh, yes.
They are what a real blended family should look like.
Right. That's right. There is no, stepmom, stepdad, stepgrand. Your grandkids, they look at you just wide-eyed and you're just Mimi and Papa. They don't know any difference. There is no blended anything. You are just family.
You're not the step grandmother or the step grandfather. You're all just family.
Yeah, you're all, that's how, and isn't that great? That's how we should approach life, and we say that all the time with just those innocence of the eyes of a child, because there is no difference. You're just my Mimi and my Papa, man. And I just think the world of you guys, and this is all I ever know. And it's just a great way to walk into it. And to me, that's a great way that you look at, approach your blended family with the eyes of a child. This is, yes, these are my stepsons, but they're just my sons. Yes, this is my stepdaughter, but it's just my daughter. And that's how I often introduce your boys is, hey, this is my son Dawson, or this is my son Mitchell, or this is my son Nick, not my stepson. It just doesn't feel right to say that because they mean so much more to me than that, and who likes a label, man, right? No one likes a label. It's like I can remember the first time when Gary took me to old parents of his friends, and he introduced me, oh, this is Richard, my friend Richard, and he's divorced, and then he has to explain, oh, but he's a good guy. It's like, that's because you put the label on me. Now you got to explain it, So, but anyway, that's the thing joke.
We have to remember is that, with our kids is it's just more people to love,
yes.
that it's okay to have, it's not a competition. We can just have multiple people that love our children and be grateful for that. And this year, for the first time, we had 14 of us took a trip to the beach together, just went to Galveston, stayed in the house. It was so special. We missed Preston, Dakota's husband, and the oldest grandchild, Riley. We're not able to make it, but 14 of us made it. And just hearing the laughter and the joy, and we did a gender reveal for the next grandkid. It's a girl. And, because Nick only has girls, third girl.
Yeah.
But it was that was just a beautiful example of what has gone into this 14 years of working to get this family close and together and get to see that.
Right. I think the thing to take away from this is that, because we could go on and on about blended family stuff, but I think the thing to take away from this is find out what your family does and do. Right. We always, from the beginning, it was family dinner. Right. And so that's what it stuck with us. And we knew that it was important to us. And that's the way we bonded our family once a month, we're together every Sunday, but whenever we started moving out once a month, we come together and we have a big, huge Sunday family dinner, and it's all of us around the table hanging out. So, but find out what works for your family, what it is that you guys can do together as a family. Not everybody's family dinner, but find out what that is and do that talk about intentionality, what you brought up earlier. Be intentional. Like, this is what we do. Intentionally, we are going to do this, and this is what's going to grow us.
It doesn't happen on accident.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep. No, that's really good. Maybe it's game night for somebody else. But yeah, it's just, it's so worth it. That's what I want people to know. It's not too late, and it's so worth it. Mm-hmm. And so I want to thank you for being on episode 2 and 3. And just being willing to be vulnerable and share our story for everyone. I hope they enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I got tears remembering about it. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure we'll see you again on a later episode. Thanks for joining me for today's conversation. If this resonated with you, please save this podcast to your playlist and share it with your friends. If there's a conversation that you want to hear, make sure and reach out at brave1.net and send a topic request. Until our next episode, remember to put your brave on.